Welcome to the All of You podcast.
Here we go.
What do we got for today?
I think we want to talk about the work, inner work, personal growth, all the things that this is about, but really diving into how do you do it? What is it? Where does someone start? Like, I think of me when I was 25, 27, fumbling through life a little bit. I thought my life was good. I thought I was a hard worker. I thought I had enough values to carry through in my life, and I had no idea. I was even struggling with depression or anxiety or even drinking too much.
So you didn't know you needed to work on yourself?
No idea.
Mm.
Yeah, I was searching. I was trying to find like podcasts and things that were healthy, but I didn't know I needed to do therapy.
Yeah. I was kind of the opposite. I was kind of aware that I needed to do work, but I didn't understand what work or how. I just knew I wasn't happy with the job I was working at the time. I knew I wanted to be in a relationship and I wasn't. So, like, the things that I wanted out of life, I wasn't obtaining. I was aware enough to know that I was the common denominator of, like, if your life isn't, if you're not happy with how your life's going, I knew that I'm the only one that can change it. Like, it's on me if I'm not. But I didn't really understand what I needed to do to change things.
Yeah.
So I have read more self-help books than anyone you could meet. It's kind of gross. And not a lot of them were very helpful. But maybe that's not true. Maybe it was.
I think they would be if you read them again. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it was maybe your awareness. I mean, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
No, you're actually that's probably spot on. It's not that they weren't helpful. It's that I didn't have enough self-awareness to be able to read the book that was explaining something and go, "Oh, that's me." So I was missing the introspection piece, which is actually, to make this go full circle, what I believe the work is.
What, like, define that a little. The work is what?
So when we talk about, like, I hear like do the work is kind of a buzz term. Like,
Yeah.
are you working on yourself? Do the work. And I believe that the what is it? Linchpin, core pin?
Yeah.
Like, the most important part of the work is going inward and doing introspective work. So going into yourself. The work to me is inner work. Becoming self-aware about what's going on inside you.
Okay. I got you.
And I did not used to have the awareness to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's still things I'm not aware of that I need to be today, and I'll look back in 10 years or 20 years and kind of go, dummy. But
Yeah.
I definitely feel like there was a time where I could have used therapy, but I didn't understand what therapy was doing and not just therapy. Obviously, there's a ton of avenues, but I think most people think of therapy is like the gateway drug to the work.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Okay.
It's like the
Yeah.
most commonly referenced one at this time.
Yeah, and it was mine too. Like
Same.
after I went through divorce and did therapy, that was where a big growth spurt started to happen.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience with therapy. I've been in therapy multiple times throughout my life. The first time I went was after my brother passed away, and I was 15, 16, and it was a very traumatic life event. And so in my mind, it justified therapy. And so all I covered in therapy was working through that and tools to just get me basic functioning through the day to be able to get through high school because I was struggling so badly. And so it worked in that chapter. But then in my, like, say, mid 20s, I went back to therapy because I wanted to work on myself. Because as I said before, I didn't feel like I was building the life that I wanted to build. And I didn't know how to, and I didn't know why I wasn't able to. And it was, uh, I did not get anything out of therapy. So much so that I didn't, so I was probably in it for like 6 months. And I was like, this is expensive.
Nothing. You didn't get anything.
No. So much so that I was like, all right, look, I don't know what we're doing here. You got to my therapist. I was like, you have to explain this to me. Like, I just come here and I tell you things and then what? Like, what do you want to know that's going to fix this? And like, how does this work?
Yeah.
Because nothing's
You wanted to know what the inner work was.
Yes. And she couldn't explain it in a way that I could understand it. And we had a full on back and forth session where I was like, nope, doesn't click. Nope, not working.
Yeah, and like not to like rag her because I have no idea who this lady is, but what if Anna, the person we took a class with, like,
yeah, I think not all therapists are created equal.
yeah,
right?
like
and
if she was your therapist, do you think maybe it would have kicked you off in a journey at that age?
Probably, maybe. It would have helped me
That's
see
cool.
things from a different perspective.
Yeah, I
but
kind of believe that too. Yeah.
I think that I am a person that I have to explain how, I have to understand how it works before I can start to do the work. And when I couldn't understand how it worked, I was like, what are we doing here?
You're a teacher's worst nightmare.
A little. I've always been the teacher's worst nightmare. I ask so many questions. I ask more hands up
Yeah.
all of class because I have to understand
the
concept, then be able to apply it.
Yeah.
And so,
but once you get it.
Yeah. Now that I get it, therapy is so beneficial for me. And I've had a therapist since then that I've gained so many insights and so many tools and has been really helpful. But for me, without the framework of what the purpose of it is and how it works, she basically very kindly kind of fired me, and I kind of fired her in that conversation. It was
mutual.
She was, yeah, and it was a little sad because it kind of left on a tone of like, I can't help you.
Yeah, and also like probably put a bad taste in your mouth towards therapy.
Yeah, a little bit it did, but at the same time, I had a handful of really good friends who found it so beneficial that I was like, I'm not totally putting it off. I think I might have just not jived with her, and I need to find someone else.
When did you go back? Because when I met you, you weren't in therapy, but you had done it on and off, I'd say, a little bit.
Yeah.
From what I remember. And then you were in therapy pretty quickly after we met. Probably because of me.
That says a lot.
A relationship will do that to you.
That it did. Well, we met and you were my mirror. And all of a sudden, you were definitely the reason I went into therapy, but not because of the things you needed to work on.
Yeah.
Because you mirrored to me what I needed to work on. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can talk into that a little bit. So I don't know what I would say to my 25-year-old self or 27-year-old self that could have gotten to me.
Really?
You know? I think the only thing that could have broken me and I wasn't stubborn, but I was like you. I couldn't see how it was helpful. Like, why do you want me to dig into my past? Why do you want me to go work on? What do you want me to work on? I'm working all the time. I'm working on my career, my house, my kids. I'm working all the time. And now you want me to go work on myself, and I don't even know what that means? Like, what do you want me to go in with a screwdriver and fix myself? Like, I don't understand. Like, what are you talking about, you know? And that was just, and I was tired and exhausted. And I think that I was just treading water and I couldn't see that the lifeboat was 10 feet away. And you're so scared you're going to drown and you don't know. You don't even know that that's the case.
So you weren't aware you were flailing and almost drowning?
No. No, because like at the time that I needed therapy the most was when I was just barely financially making it. I had 2 young kids and just trying to grind to get ahead. And I thought that I was flailing to get ahead, and I thought that getting ahead was getting more money. So like if I could go back to talk to my younger self would say, I need more money because money's going to buy me time. And once I have time, I'll read the books. I'll do the work. But I don't have the time right now to read books. I don't have the time. But I, to my younger self, would say, you can't afford not to. You can't afford not to go swim 10 feet over to this lifeboat to fix your mental health and your triggers and your emotional ties to things. I think the only thing that would have broke me is if I could have had somebody in my life go, I was there. I've been in your shoes and therapy saved me. Doing things for journaling saved me. Figuring myself out saved me and from a breakdown, you know? Or it saved me, it allowed me to find peace amongst the chaos because the chaos is not going to change. Your kids getting older isn't going to really, you're not going to have the time or the energy. Still, your bills are never going to go away. Chaos is going to happen in this world, but how do you find peace amongst the chaos? And so you're never going to get to that point where you feel good until you just decide to do the work internally to feel good.
When did you realize that you needed help?
When it was too late and I had already done enough damage to my life. I mean, from the get-go, I had been kind of sabotaging my life in a lot of different ways. It's not comparable. Like everybody, like somebody could say, well, you didn't sabotage your life, or you didn't do what I did, or you didn't go to jail, or you didn't, but I sabotaged my life. The opportunities I had and not all of them, but a lot of them, and I hurt other people and I hurt my daughters, really. And
Through the divorce?
yeah. Yeah, and just through working too much and not being present and not just working at work, but working at home and not valuing the things that I aligned with. My values have always been my daughters, and I've always had good values but I was double-minded in the sense of that my values in my mind were these things, but where I spent my time and energy or money were maybe these things.
So you say you value your kids, but instead of getting on the floor and playing with them, you're
mowing the lawn, which because I'm too afraid of what the neighbors think or something, drinking beer because I'm tired and exhausted and want to feel better.
And you believe that providing financially is meeting their needs when really there's more needs than that.
There are, yeah. And it's not even like, yeah, it just, I was not aligned. I just wasn't. And I could have been better but not just better for them. The best thing that I can do for my kids, for you, for anyone in my life is to take care of myself and get aligned and get my head straight. Because when I'm double-minded, I choose to stay home with you and the girls and not go on a snowboard trip with a buddy. But then when I'm here, I'm not present because my mind is there. Or I choose to go to the beach, all of us, but I'm really thinking about the yard work that needs to get done. Like you're just not present, and you're not good for your family if you can't align and decide and make grown up decisions and stick to them. And I couldn't align because I just wasn't grounded enough to do so. And I think that's the kind of letting the cat out of the bag on what the work can provide you is an aligned life and decision making. And it's not perfect. It's never easy. You never know how it's going to work out when you make a decision, but you can own your decisions, be accountable for them, and move in a direction with conviction and peace. When I realized that I needed help was after I had already made some pretty poor decisions.
So you realized you needed help when you already hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was somewhat doing the same thing, but what I needed to shift into was shifting inward, because a lot of the answers are actually inside us. The reasons why we are doing things the way we are and showing up the way we are, the answers to that is all inward. If you would have told me even 3 years ago that I'd be talking like this, I would have been like, hippy dippy bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like that I'd be on a podcast talking about how to find inner peace and that it's not in what I was doing. I would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
I think that's actually why we have a podcast, is because that contrast of I did it so wrong that I want to tell others that there is a better way.
Exactly. I think that as long as we were chasing things outside of ourselves, we were never going to find the happiness that we have now.
So if you were to talk to your 25-year-old self, how would you tell him to start doing the work?
I mean, I'd probably say to go find a therapist, find a good therapist. I think the experiences you've had in therapy alter so much because of the therapist, but also your mindset at the time too. But a therapist can't lead you where they haven't gone. So if you find a good therapist, that will help a lot. I don't know. How do you start doing the work? I'd ask a lot of questions.
To the person?
No, to me, like if I was talking to my younger self and trying to explain to do the work, I'd ask a lot of questions like, what makes you happy? What makes you fulfilled? What's the things that you feel like you don't have that if you could have them, you'd be happy? And like break that down, like answer, like I think there's like 10 questions, and maybe we should do this and like put it online or something, but I'd have 10 questions that I could write down and say, if you could have one thing you don't have now, what would it be? What's one thing in your relationship that you're not satisfied with? Like, what makes you happy on a day-to-day basis? And all these questions. Do you understand how you feel in the given moment? Like
Yeah.
like 10 questions, and then break it down and be like, do you see how you're chasing? You aren't happy because you don't have the truck that you want. You're robbing yourself of your own joy.
Yeah. Well, I think what's tricky is it takes a really great amount of self-awareness to answer those questions honestly.
Hmm.
And I, at the time when I was in therapy, I didn't have the self-awareness. And honestly, I didn't really want to be honest with myself because it's kind of painful to be able to answer those questions in a helpful way. And quite honestly, that's probably why therapy didn't work for me. And so when I think about what would help me or what still helps me, like what is the most important thing for me to work on, it always comes back to becoming more self-aware in all different ways. So in order to do that, I had to really become more compassionate towards myself and let go of needing to be perfect in order to even start allowing myself to see my flaws. Because it was almost too painful to even believe I had flaws. And that was my flaw.
Yeah.
And so for me, even starting to understand how to begin becoming self-aware, I joined a program that
Yeah.
helped me over months to break down the narratives that I had created in my mind to be able to start to kind of see myself more clearly. And so I think when we talk about...
So you think you weren't actually being honest with yourself?
No, I don't.
At what point do you think that began?
Being honest with myself, it wasn't a light switch. I began to...
I guess that's true because I still see you doing it today.
I mean, yeah, it's
at
true.
times we all do it. We all hide things in our mind that contradict ourselves. It's hard to not be a walking contradiction.
Yeah,
It's hard to align
it
completely.
really is like, can't really happen all at once because I couldn't handle learning all the things I need to learn about me all at once. It's almost as if your body knows when you can handle the insights about yourself, and your mind will release them when your body believes it can handle it. And so as I began to handle some of the things I was learning about myself and go, okay, like I would actually tell myself, like, I'm open to more, I can learn more, then I would actually start learning more. So it was never a light. I don't think self-realization or is ever like, oh, you just flip the switch and you know who you are. It is a ongoing process I will be doing forever. There's always more to learn and more ways I can grow. I don't believe that the person I am now is the person I will be next year, because I think I will be able to learn more things about myself and change more things about myself or grow in different areas.
What a beautiful thing to have that confidence in yourself to be able to do that.
I didn't used to. It wasn't until I started getting some wins under my belt that I started believing I could do that work and I could change.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the wins, you gotta have a win, and not just a win in making money or growing in your career or something, but really a win in self-development. Like, wow, I was a certain way that I realized, and I don't like that thing now, so I'm going to change it. I mean, I was leaving the last dish out. I did it today. I did all the dishes, and for whatever reason, I can't do the last dish. I don't know what it is. My brain goes, dishes are done, and there's like a pan on the stove. It happens all the time. But you were telling me this, and I eventually was like, I'm going to stop doing this. And I have gotten 9 times out of 10 now. 8 times out of 10, I'm doing all.
It's a strong 7, babe, but let's be honest. But it's comical, and you really try.
I do.
It's kind of cute how much you try, but you can manage to still forget a dish.
But 0 out of 10 times was I actually doing all the dishes before. Not even 1 out of 10 was I doing all the. There could be 2 knives in the sink, and I was only washing one of them.
It
I don't know
blows my
how.
mind that
I
that
don't know.
is
My
even
mind, it goes
possible.
to the next thing.
I was
But
never even mad. It just was funny because it was.
yeah. But just as an example of like, it could be something silly. So is that the work? Like, is that the work? Like anything from a pet peeve of a partner saying, "Hey, it annoys me that I got to come back around you and do the last dish all the time," all the way to overly critical self hurting your children, or you're too invasive by always trying to make it a life lesson. It hurts your relationships when you're not aware of it. So is that the work? Is it understanding? It's becoming self-aware to pick up on that and then be able to have enough wins to go, I can change the way I am. I don't have to be defensive of the way I am.
Right. Well, we are responsible for our behaviors. We are responsible for our choices. We're responsible for our feelings. And we're responsible for that impact on others. And so if I'm doing behaviors that are harmful for those around me, that's my responsibility. And unless I'm willing to become aware that I'm doing it and not defensive of it and go, okay, yeah, I'm doing that and it's hurting people around me. I want to work on it. Like that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
I think. And
But it
not
takes trust.
well, and I think when looking at partnership, and that could even be like friendship, how many times I can't tell you how many times I've sat with girlfriends and been like, oh, this friend is doing X, Y, and Z again. It's going to be really bad. And we all go, okay, like who's going to tell her? And everyone goes, she's not going to listen. It's not really worth telling her. Like, or she's going to react really poorly and blow up on you if you tell her. And so you don't. And if you're the person who, when receiving feedback, can't take it, then you're actually cutting yourself off from growth as well.
Yeah, because you're only gonna have people in your life that don't mirror for you.
I think a lot of people think they want to know the truth, but the truth is painful. And as humans, we try our hardest to avoid pain for the most part. And inner work, going within and becoming more aware of our negative patterns, negative thoughts, negative beliefs, ways that we hurt people is painful. It is actually painful work to realize the ways that we are just not so pretty inside. But it's also a choose your hard. Do you want to make those areas pretty? And do you want to show up better? Or do you want to bury your head in the sand and just keep doing the same things over and over? And I think, as painful as this work is, I'm just in the camp of I'd rather do the work.
Yeah, it's better. It's way better. It's so cool to look back at yourself and see progress and see your relationships improve. Like the pain of having relationships go south in your life is not it's not good. And I don't believe you can have good relationships, truly connecting relationships, without personal growth and showing that is love. Like I don't understand. We have all these love languages, and I don't understand love any different than me telling you, "Hey, this is kind of hurting me when you do this." And it's not something that is, one of your needs. I'm not stepping on, saying don't go get your needs met somehow. So it's like a real thing. Like your defensiveness is hurting me. And then you go deal with it. that does not feel like love to me. Like that's not loving. I think what's loving is, okay, this is hurting you. Let me go do my work and sort through this. I'll come back with, some progress reports, and I'll work on it. And that's like the basic level of intimacy to me. I don't understand it in any other way. Maybe I'm off, but
No, I don't think you're off. I think that,
yeah, like you could buy me a new truck. You could cook me dinner every night. You could do all the love languages on point, all of them. But if you don't work on yourself when it's hurting our connection, that's the only thing I care about. I mean, that's why we're here, is because we found that working on ourselves, not me working on you,
mm-mm.
not you working on me, but us mirroring to each other things, because we can see a little bit more. That's what a relationship is, right? It's like living with a coach. You can ignore each other and not take advantage of that, or you can work on your game together.
Right. Well, and I think it can be really, you can get comfortable in not having a coach type of a partnership where no one says anything. We don't rock the boat and we just put up with each other's bullshit to not have to fight. Like there is comfort in that. I think that,
You know what? Fair. People want to do that. Like, I don't want to hate on them. Go, like, that's fine.
yeah, well,
If that makes you happy and you want to get in bed and eat ice cream together every night, like, we've done that. Like,
yeah,
it,
we eat ice cream in bed most nights.
not
So,
most nights.
David, come on. We eat a lot of ice cream.
It's more often than we should.
It's way more often than we should. I don't really want to stop. But
probably have some tonight.
yeah, cool. I would say that, yeah, that I think that I don't have any judgment on it,
Anyone.
anyone's relationship and how it operates. All I know is there are tools that I have come across that have made ours operate so much better that I want to share. But to go back to that point on the couple who doesn't bring up anything and just to not rock the boat, it's a breeding ground for resentment.
Oh, yeah.
And ultimately, that leads to a lot of unhappiness. And
Yeah.
so I think and that's my personal take is I don't want a relationship where we don't talk about things. Because I am an avoidant to my core. I love avoiding. You know this. It's my favorite thing. But ultimately I know avoidance turns into resentment, and then that turns into just a different type of fight and an unhealth in our relationship. And so, yeah, pick and choose your battles, of course. But the things that are important to work through, it's so important to do so. And that is where the growth is. That is where kind of the coach relationship, or maybe the better word for it is like iron sharpening iron relationship, where we're both working on ourselves together.
Yeah. There's resources, there's tools. You're not stuck. If you feel stuck, there are options, there are classes, there are people. There's just so much out there. And I don't say that from a place of I've done the work. I'm in a place where I don't have any struggle. Like, no, I have struggle still. But it's night and day compared to where I was 5 years ago. I did not want to get up in the morning. I was in so much pain that I didn't know I could feel better, and I didn't know where to go. And I
Well,
just was like, you feel so stuck.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you were treading water. There was a lifeboat 10 feet away. Instead of swimming over to it and doing the work, you continued treading water. You drowned a little bit, you hit rock bottom, And from rock bottom is when you started doing the work. But ultimately, and I don't want to speak for you, but it feels like, and I guess not feels like, in my conversations with you, when I hear you talk about why you're so passionate about this, is you want that guy who's treading the water to swim to the lifeboat because you don't want that guy to drown like you did.
Yeah. I mean, it just felt like it just felt like there was moments where I didn't know which way it would go, you know? Like I didn't know if I would, I mean, I'm just being honest. I might cut this out, but I, I just didn't know if I would yank the wheel and just flip the car off the bridge. I did not know. I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to. And there was thoughts in my brain and things that I thought were like a math problem that stack up that equals my depression. Like my bills are so tight, my work stress is so real, my life stress is so real, equals me not wanting to live. And I didn't know that I had options and ways to take care of my body and my mind so that I could think smarter to get out of the stress, you know? And I have stress now. I have probably the most stress I've ever had right now in some regards. I just am stronger now and I have a mind that can take breaks. I have a mind that can sleep through the night. I have a supportive partner because I learned to love her well so that she can love me well. And I learned how to communicate my needs so that you can love me well. And my life is just so much better because of that. If I had to break it down, I just felt really stuck and trapped and scared. I felt scared of people tell you in California as a dad, no matter if you have 50% custody, they're coming for you and you're going to get just gutted. So then your bills just get more stressed and then you're trying to make a decision. So then I make a decision that I think is good, but then it adds, you just can't get out of it. And so a lot of people are just grinding. A lot of people are grinding day in, day out and getting home and drinking it away. And it works for only so long.
First off, I want to say thank you for sharing that. I know that I've heard that, but I think it's powerful for anyone who hears it. And I think there's so many people in survival mode, kind of as you described, almost living on autopilot. And you could listen to a podcast like ours. You could listen to us and go, I don't have time for that. Like, as you said, the bills are stacking up. The mental tension is unreal. You're not sleeping at night. You're exhausted and you're raising kids and you're figuring out where to move to, right? And there's so much pressure, life on your shoulders, and the thought of, and these two buffoons on this podcast want me to add more work to my plate to try to get to know myself better so they could figure out my patterns and be better in the world. Like, they can F right off, right? Like, I could imagine someone feeling that way. And there's probably times in my life where I would have felt that way or felt, yeah, no, I have it figured out enough. I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
And I think the reason you're sitting here is because that was you. You were treading water and didn't believe you needed help outside of yourself. And that led you to a really scary place. So scary that you're like, I don't want anyone to go there.
Yeah.
And that is I think that's a lot of the reason you're here in this chair and speaking out about this, because that perspective is invaluable to the right person. Not to everyone, but to the right person. And I feel I'm here to speak to a different perspective. I didn't hit rock bottom, but I spun my wheels chasing the wrong things and not having the life I wanted for years. So I think what I'm trying to say is no matter where you fall on the spectrum, we're all living a human experience and dealing with real human emotions and problems and life.
Yeah.
And no matter where you are, doing work on your inner self is going to help you. And I won't sit here and tell you exactly what the blueprint is, because I don't actually believe there is a perfect blueprint to do it. But there's so many different avenues that people can start to do the work, whether that's meditation, journaling, therapy. There's tons of different modalities or avenues that people can start, books and podcasts, that they can start to do their journey inward. And I want to, one, encourage people to do that. And then also I feel like, given what you just shared, if anyone is in a really dark place, please reach out to someone and know that you're loved.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why people hit rock bottom. Like when you talk about people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts, it's not something to be judgmental of. It's something to realize something happened to them that triggered them, and they lost their footing, like they lost their balance. And if your whole identity, if you move to another state or another country for a job, and then that business goes out, they go out of business, the company does, and all of a sudden you're there and you don't have enough money to get home, or your identity, your whole world gets shattered, and you've worked all the way up for this thing and it doesn't happen. People lose it. All kinds of things can happen to you in life that can just wreck the world as you know it. No longer is what, you know this well. Everything you thought in life gets shattered in a moment, and it's really hard to recover from that. And sometimes if you're not stable enough, it can really send you down some dark places. I don't know. Just be honest with yourself, and if you have those moments, or I don't know, even if I don't want to make it about that. This episode's supposed to be about doing the work. But if you, no matter what state of mind you're in, there's always work that can help you get to a better, more clear state of mind. By learning how to balance it and collect your thoughts. Like you said, journaling, meditation, therapy. We've done a couple group therapy classes of different kinds, and that's helped a ton. There's so many resources and so many things to better yourself. It's worth the investment all day long.
Also, because I have tons of financial triggers as well from my past, one thing that helped me justify it, or now does, that I would say to anyone is the cost of not is greater. In that when you start working on yourself and showing up better, it doesn't just happen in your relationships or your friendships, it happens at work.
Yeah.
And that leads to promotions and opportunities and advancements. And so you actually, you'll gain the money back
Yeah.
guarantee.
Yeah.
if you work on yourself.
Yep.
And that's been my experience.
100%. It's priceless to get to a point where you feel like you have a handle on yourself.
Yeah.
It really is the trick to the whole thing. Like from the get-go, from birth, the best thing to do is to learn how to handle yourself. Really, just emotionally.
Yeah. But in order to handle yourself, you have to meet yourself, and you have to meet yourself honestly. And that's the entire work,
That's the work
of going inward.
That's the work right there.
That's the work.
Accepting all of you is the work.
Yep.
All your faults, all your flaws, all your struggles, and realizing you got some work to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's our platform. If we can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. Not perfect.
No.
Far from it.
I got triggered yesterday.
I got triggered today.
Yeah. Well.
But
trying to one up me?
who gets triggered more?
I really don't want to track that. No.
No, but yeah, we are not
We're
perfect.
not doing it perfect, but we're just committed to doing it. And that in itself has shown immeasurable results.
Do the work.
Yeah. You need to take a few deep breaths after this one.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.